Guys, Luke here, and going to talk a little bit about nitric oxide today because nitrates seem to be quite the big rage among the endurance athletes now, last maybe couple of years. And it's definitely picked up steam, and the research is definitely there to support some things, but you have to look at it from the big picture standpoint. So ultimately, beetroot juice, nitrates, however you want to look at it, um, can improve endurance performance. There's other things they're looking at, like growth hormone, things like that, especially with bodybuilders and weightlifters and things like that. And some of that's a little less uh, evident. I mean, but it determine, but like I'll talk about in a second. I think a lot of it determines based on the research. And so, but with endurance running, it's definitely been shown to improve running economy pretty significantly. So I've seen 5% thrown around quite a bit. And a 5% improvement in running economy, you can think of it in terms like this. People are spending a few $100s for a pair of shoes that's going to improve their running economy 3 to 5%. So if you can take nitrates for, a fraction of the cost, essentially, um, you can improve it basically the same amount. And so so just put it in perspective that way. If if people are willing to spend that amount of money for a 5% improvement, you can get it in a bottle for a lot less and actually get some more health benefit out of it too. But the biggest thing is it's running economy. And then you will also see time to exhaustion has improved in folks. The running economy affects us more as marathoners because what running economy essentially means is that we can run the same pace at a lower use of oxygen. And if we're not using as much oxygen, it means we're not burning as much carbohydrate, which means we're ultimately utilizing fat as more of a source for our running, but we're ultimately able to maintain the same pace on that. So it's basically less fuel from a carbohydrate standpoint to run the same pace because we don't need as much oxygen to get the same work done. So that's pretty impressive, right? Like if we can get that improvement, that's why we're spending $250 on a pair of shoes. Now, when you look at the research, some of it's pretty dicey because what you'll see a lot of times is they'll mix a lot of groups together. So they'll mix younger people with older people. They'll mix recreational runners with more competitive people. And you really have to siphon all those things out. And then you also have to look at the length of the time that they're studying these folks. So, for instance, shorter studies actually showed bigger improvements than did longer studies because, one of the things we'll talk about this in a second, but ultimately your body produces nitric oxide on its own. So boosting it artificially over a long period of time may not be as beneficial. So the research can be dicey, but when you separate those things out, you see some definite patterns. So for the first one is that for less trained and older athletes, you probably need less of a dose. So something like a bottle this size, 2.5 to 3 hours before a workout can show a significant improvement in running economy. And then keeping in mind that those numbers do stay elevated for a longer period of time. It's not like after 3 hours, it's not there anymore. It does stay elevated for a significant period of time. So it takes a little time for those effects to take place. So that's why the 2.5 to 3 hours. So by the time you get into the race, you're pretty much at peak levels, and it'll stay there for a few hours. So one 60 to 70 milliliter dose of nitrates for those people, that's the less trained or the older people. Not necessarily both. You don't have to be less trained and older, just one or the other, really, or younger and more trained. Because one of the things they found out was, younger people have higher levels. As we age, it naturally declines. And the more trained we are means we have more training adaptations taking place. It takes a bigger dose to see an actual response. So in these people, if you're younger and or more trained, a higher level athlete, 2 of these 2.5 to 3 hours before your workout is plenty good. And you'll have that kind of acute effect on a marathon or a workout. So I'll do that protocol strictly for workouts, right? So every workout I will do one of these at night, and then I'll do another one in the morning before the workout. So if you're a lower level athlete, you could probably just do one of these in the morning, 2.5 to 3 hours before. Or if you get up and go right into a workout, you might want to take it the night before because you'll still have those benefits. Like I said, those numbers stay elevated for quite some time. So now you don't want to necessarily do this every day. You don't want to take one of these every single day, because what'll happen is, as I said, your body produces nitric oxide on its own, given certain amino acids, and then as long as you're eating fruits and vegetables and things like that. So by taking something like this every day, you can actually blunt the body's natural response to making it, because if it's already getting it artificially at high levels, then it's going to over time stop making it on its own, because it's just getting it from the outside sources. So you want to be careful of that. However, as I say that, there is another protocol that I use loading up into a goal marathon. And so kind of this build-up process has been shown to be effective for 3 to 15 days before a major competition. And so again, we're using the groups we had, the less trained and or the older group, you might actually get more of a benefit from using like a 3 to 7 day kind of build up. So like the week before the race, take one of these at night, get up and do your runs, and then do that all the way up to the night before the race, and then take one in the morning before the race. And you should be really, really in a good position. And then as far as the younger and or very highly trained, since you actually need more of a dose to see a response, you might want to extend that out and go from, say, 7 or 8 days to 10 to 15 days. And that's still a short enough time where you're not going to block the body's ability. It's going to take a little bit longer for the body to adjust, but you are kind of building those natural levels into your body. And then you're going to have that in your system, and you're going to be able to utilize that on race day. So I actually have been doing a 5-day protocol, take one of these every day at night. And then in the morning of the race, I would take another one. And so now, after I've seen the updated research, I think I'm actually going to extend that out to more like a 10-day type of a situation of one bottle every night before, and then again the morning of the race. But for both groups, that's one bottle in the longer period of time, because we're just doing a less of a dose, but building it in over time. Now for the acute, it can be one for less trained or older folks, 2 bottles for younger and higher level athletes to see that running economy response. So that's what I do. I use Isogenics Amped Nox. It's Clean Sport certified, which means what it says on the bottle is what I'm getting. It's all natural things. The first thing is beetroot, and then it's celery, and then you're talking about black pepper and some other things. So it's all very natural ingredients, and actually tastes a little bit like celery. Kind of get that beet, but then on the tail end you get a little bit of celery. But it's worked for me for 3 years, and I'd love to get you to try it as well. So if you're interested, feel free to reach out, and we'll point you in the right direction. If you already use something, that's great. Hopefully you can find some use out of this protocol that I just gave you. So thanks a lot for listening, guys, and I'll talk to you later. All right, bye-bye.